Hey, it's Romania Black, and we're on episode 38 of Monster. And I thought last week was going to be like the finale of the cliffhanger, but then it became another cliffhanger, and now we're here. So, that's where we're at. Yep. So we're on episode 38. We're past the halfway point, which is great. We're like at 52%. And the library's on fire. Johan is like right next to Schubert. Is he gonna kill him? Is he not gonna kill him? Johan, Ricardo, Roberto has the gun. Not Ricardo, Roberto. I'm gonna call him Ricardo from now on. But Roberto has the gun. He has a sniper rifle. Tenma is like bloody all over and has been trying to prevent Roberto from killing Schubert. I don't know what's gonna happen. Logic would tell us that you could do a fingerprint analysis and prove that it wasn't just Tenma with the gun. But I'm like, is Lunge gonna show up and not believe any of that? It's just chaos. It's just absolute chaos, and we're on episode 38, so there's that. As I'm recording this, episode 37 has not premiered yet on Patreon, and I was telling Discord, I was like, oh, we're getting ready for this episode this week, and I just showed a picture of like the one woman with the match in the last episode, and Minot on Discord went, oh, that episode. I was like, oh, that one, just that one, it's fine. I do have a couple comments, though, before we start and dive into this madness, as it were. Pop-Tart Milkman, which I love that handle, talked about how Lottie is one of the first people to interact with Tenma, Nina, and Johan, with the exception of maybe Roberto, because Roberto technically has interacted with all three too. But yeah, Lottie and Roberto are the only two individuals in the story so far that have interacted with Johan, Tenma, and Nina all together, which is kind of interesting. So I was like, well, that's cool. I like Lottie's character a lot. I hope she sticks around. I don't think she will after the storyline is over. I think her and Karl are going to be like to the side again, but I don't know. Karl's still going off to get the document. He doesn't even know this is going on. Reichwein and Dieter are on the way. Who knows what's going to happen? Warler talked about how in the Discord, Marvin tells Dieter, you should come see it too. Which is what Johan told the kids and what Jurgen's heard. And I was like, oh my God, I got like chills. It was like, we all float down here with Pennywise, right? I was like, that's so creepy. You should come see it too. And I was like, oh my God. So I don't know what that means. I don't know if that's going to be something that's going to be like a thing that carries on throughout the story. I don't know what we're going to get out of that. I just don't know. But I'm curious about it. And then they also said that the apostle in the book of Revelations is named Johan or John. And I'm like, of course, shush. And apparently at the beginning, the phrase about defeating monsters is that we got from the last, I think, episode 37 or episode 36 is from the book of Revelations as well. And I'm not going to get too much into it because, again, we had the whole thing with Herod brought up in the comments last episode. I don't want to get too much into it. Honestly, with y'all, I have one more comment to share after this, but I do have a moderator now on the Discord, and they've been going through the monster comments on YouTube and Patreon and checking for spoilers. And if they see a spoiler and they're like, Romania, this person is either the comment has a spoiler, a hint, a clue, or is trying to lead me to an assumption about something that will happen later on in the story, they're going to tell me about it. And I'm just going to say, thanks for the comment and move on with my life. So, just to forewarn you, if you get that comment from me, it just means I didn't read your comment because it has been flagged for having spoilers. So just, if you want me to read your comments, don't have any of that. Because I have a moderator that's checking now because they're very nice. But anyway, Maya B also said that Reichwein and Schubert, they were rephrasing the passage from the start of the series. And they were rephrasing it, yes, when Reichwein and Schubert met in episode 36. And they worshipped the beast, saying, who is unlike the beast? Basically, who is able to make war with him? Who can beat him? Basically tying to the idea of how do you fight a monster, but with a monster. And I just don't want Tenma to become the monster. That's not much to ask. Can't we find a third option? Do we have to go off this cryptic tome text? Do we? I don't know, y'all. These last 3 episodes have made me very tense. And I'm just like, with this series because lots of things have gone down. And it's just been a lot. So I don't know what to do. I don't know what to make of it. But what can we do, y'all? We just got to find out what's going to happen now. So I guess we have no choice but to find out. So I pour myself a glass of coffee as if I need more energy. and decide to sit down and watch episode 38 of Monster. So what could happen? So yeah, we're gonna dive right in, y'all, and see for ourselves. But we're gonna do that here in 3, 2, 1, and let's find out. Why am I not surprised? I just why? I want one monster episode that doesn't end in a ridiculous cliffhanger, please. That's been this last month. I don't think that's a lot to ask. Damn it. This episode, I don't know how much discussion we'll get out of it. I brought Whiteboard Coon out because there are things I want to write down on Whiteboard Coon, but I honestly don't know how much discussion we'll get out of this. I say that and then it'll be like a 50-minute discussion. But there wasn't a lot of new content in this episode. There was new content. We need to talk about it because there's some revelations in this. But they did a lot of recap, and it was just so they could have the curtain fall and that be the end of the episode. I was like, how dare you, show? How dare you fabricate this cliffhanger when it did not need to be there? You could have, they could have had the conclusion of this whole debacle thing, and then whatever the aftermath is be the next episode. But no, they're gonna make me watch episode 39 because I can't wait, right? So yeah, there's that. But so Tenma's killed someone. Tenma is a murderer. He's killed a man. We need to talk about this. There was a lot of stuff in this episode that I was like, okay, Tenma has killed someone. The shaking stopped. The demon in my eyes. So this episode was called The Demon in My Eyes. Meaning, we'll talk about this, meaning how it could mean a lot of things. It could mean how someone is a demon to me. And it could also mean that there is a demon or / monster inside me. So there's kind of a double meaning there. It could mean the demon in my eyes could mean like there's an actual demon in me that if you look in my eyes, you'll see it. We had a lot of things that would reflect that in this episode. But it could also mean that I believe someone is a demon in my eyes. That's how they present themselves. That's how I view them. So there's a double meaning to this. But oh my God. And the sad thing is, I guess here's my thing. We'll talk about this with Tenma and Roberto and Johan. But yeah, get through all this recap and everything. And just everybody there's so much recap in here. I want to get through all this. There's like a 5 minutes of recap. I was like, come on, episode. And even there's a recap leading up to the stuff, like the stuff with Hugo and the stuff with Karl and his mom. Like there was so much recap in this episode that I was like, what are we doing, show? But again, they were trying to build up to this damn cliffhanger. And I'm sure there's going to be maybe some of this reflected in the actual manga when I get to it. But don't tell me. We'll find out when we get there. But yeah, it is weird to see Tenma like on the run at the beginning when his hair wasn't quite so long. It was just a little bit short. I'm like, man, Tenma's hair has grown out a lot since the time of episode 8, right? 30 episodes ago. That was 30 episodes ago. Oh my God. But yeah, so we cut to him thinking about shooting Roberto. And Roberto says, no, you can't do that. You're just a doctor. You can only give people life. Taking someone's life is my job as a hitman. But okay, here's my thing. He's like, you can't do it. Here is my thing. And I think that this is the big distinction at this point between Johan and Tenma. And I guess I need to write it down here to kind of go over this. So the thing about it is, with Johan, we know that he has killed Junkers. Like that is clear. We do know that, right? But other than that, every other charge has been assumed. It has been assumed, much like with Tenma by Lunge. Now, there's been a host of different things that has pointed to the fact that Johan, even if Johan didn't pull the trigger, he did orchestrate and set up the murders himself. Like the murders with Wolfsman that was clearly Johan. The murders with Margot Langer, that clearly points to Johan. With Farron, that points to Johan. With all the people surrounded by Schubert, that points to Johan. So there's clearly, Johan has influenced these murders, whether or not he's actually pulled the trigger. What's so fascinating about this episode is that we end up in this situation where Johan is at this venue seemingly unarmed, right? He's seemingly unarmed, one. And then we have Roberto, who has a gun, who has a gun, which is the one Tenma ends up using, and then takes the sniper rifle. So you have that scenario. And then you have Johan, who seems to want Tenma to shoot him. He's almost begging for it, whereas Roberto threatens Tenma. So, am I happy that Roberto's dead? Well, I mean, Roberto was a big threat. He's not a threat anymore, so there's that. I can't believe he's dead. I thought that, and here's my thing, right? I thought that Tenma was maybe going to shoot the sprinklers. If there was a sprinkler system in there, they really should have checked the fire code and made sure there was a sprinkler system. Should have had a sprinkler system in this library. Somebody wasn't up to code. What's OSHA going to say about this? It was 1990s Germany. OSHA wasn't really a thing there, right? So, oh my God. But I was thinking that would happen, and then maybe he'd shoot him in the arm, and that was it. But here's the thing. Tenma, I mean, his options were shoot Roberto or die. That's really where he was left. And the crazy thing with Johan is, I've not really wanted Tenma to shoot Johan, and it kind of came out in this episode, my reason why. The more I watched the episode, I realized because Johan's not actively trying to kill Tenma that we know of. He's not actively pursued Tenma. Tenma's been the pursuer of Johan. And so even though Johan's done all these bad things, and I want Johan to be persecuted, I want him to be brought to justice, whatever that amounts to, I haven't wanted Johan to be killed by Tenma because Johan hasn't really actively tried to kill Tenma, I guess is the point. For whatever reason he has in his mind, he hasn't tried to kill Tenma. And I don't know if it's trying to like make Tim into a monster, like what it amounts to. If it's just a social experiment, it's probably just a social experiment. But I guess my whole thing is I didn't want Johan to become a murderer and seek out I didn't want Tenma to become a murderer and seek out Johan to kill, because it would be like him pursuing Johan without Johan knowing. Whereas with Roberto, he had a sniper rifle pointed right at his face, and if Tenma hadn't shot him, he would have been dead. So it's like, it's almost a self-defense, but I mean, he shot Roberto, and he shot him right in the arm like he wasn't going to kill him, but then Roberto could still use the gun, and Tenma's like, well, shit, if I don't shoot him, I'm dead. But it's just, it's so crazy in this moment, because yeah, Tenma has killed someone. He can't have the birds fly on his shoulders anymore. It's over. Tenma's killed someone, and he said the shaking stopped. Meaning that now... But here's the thing. When that happened, I was like, well, hell, Tenma's going to go on a 5-state killing spree now. But that's not necessarily the case. He still hesitated with Johan. And I think part of it was that Johan wasn't armed. He wasn't threatening Tenma. He just stood there the whole time. And the thing of it is, he didn't kill Schubert. He didn't kill Schubert. He just stood there and watched it all happen, like someone just watching everyone kill each other, and just stood there like he did on the throne in Kinderheim and just let them all, like ants, like just murder one another. And he just sat there and was like, okay, and then decided to leave whenever. I think that's one of the reasons why Tenma hesitated. He was like, he's not threatening me. It's not a life or death situation. If I kill him, I'm killing this unarmed man who's not trying to do anything at all. And can I live with that? It wasn't an act of self-defense anymore, right? Because up until now, Tenma has not, he's either not pulled the trigger or he's not done something to like kill someone. So it's like, ugh. But yeah, but he actually shot Roberto. I can't believe that Roberto is dead. And then him falling into the fire. Man, falling into the flames. And Tenma doesn't really reflect on the fact that he's killed a man. We get the title card immediately after he shoots Roberto, which is the demon in my eyes. And he just says he stopped shaking, right? and he didn't shoot me. Like, and so in that moment, you think that Tenma thought he'd been shot, and so he'd shot him back, but he didn't get a chance to do it. So I don't know what effect this will have on Tenma, shooting Roberto and killing him. I don't know what effect that's going to have. When he originally tripped over somebody on the stairs, I thought he tripped over Roberto, and he was going to look back, and Roberto was going to be like all mangled and look like the Ring. But no, it was people trying to escape and climb up the stairs in the library. That was what it was. And so I'm going to be very curious to see how Tenma reflects on this. The trembling stopped, and he couldn't see through the smoke to shoot Johan. So he decided not to let him get away. Something that's kind of interesting too in all of this is that Johan, which again, or Tenma, I keep wanting to say Johan instead of Tenma, is that Tenma doesn't help anybody in the library until the very end. When he can't get to Johan, he doesn't immediately stop and help people, which is seemingly out of character for Tenma because he's a doctor. But at this point, what can you do? You can't heal them from the smoke damage that's in the building. So he's kind of like trying to take care, but it's like him trying to take care of Johan. It's like, that's not going to save the people. So it's one of these instances where he chooses going after Johan over saving the people at first, and then he comes back and shoots off the hinges. But the fact that he chose Johan over the people at first says something about his character and how it's changed, right, over the course of this series. And then he goes back and fires off the hinges. And again, what's interesting is, like ants, they all file in a line and push open the door together after they see that what Tenma's doing is helpful. And I felt so bad because the one guy was like, "Thank you, sir." And Tenma like turned around to go after Johan, and he's like, "Hey, what you doing?" Like, Tenma had no time to be thanked. He was after Johan. No time for that. And they tried to get out, and it just wasn't working. And then what's interesting is they go to escort Schubert, and Johan's like, "Oh, well, do you have a plan for getting Schubert out of here? Do you have a plan, or are you just going to wheel him into the flames and leave him?" So interestingly enough, Johan does not get Schubert in a situation of danger, but he has him right in front of him as if he's just waiting to be left alone so he can talk to him. He says, "There's a lot of books burning." And that's when Schubert says, "Are you satisfied using this way to convey the pictures of hell in the books? So what you wanted wasn't to become like me." He says, "I've decided not to do that." So, okay, with Johan, what is his mission? What is his mission? It's not to be a monster like Schubert. It's not to take control of a business or do anything like that. He's changed his mind. So, what is the point, right? What is the point? And again, I feel like that's going to be the entire series, is figuring out what the hell Johan wants to do. And so he says, "A different idea popped into my head." And so I was waiting for it to be one of those scenarios where Johan tells Schubert, but we don't get to see as the audience. And it's like, son of a bitch, you're not going to tell us everything. He says, "What are you afraid of?" And he says, "Where did you come from? Who are you?" And that's when he brings up the whole thing where he goes around and like makes Schubert look at him. He's like, "Can you see me?" He's like, and God, the scene, I want to get a picture of that. The scene where he has Schubert's face like so close to his and is looking so intensely at him. It's absolutely terrifying. Right? And that's when he says, he's like, and he like opens his eyes as wide as he can so that he can see. "Can you see what's reflected in my eyes?" Now the question is Schubert Johan's dad too? Are Karl and Schubert and Nina half siblings? Is Schubert the dad too? I mean, we don't know, right? Is he like, are they siblings? I don't know. Because yeah, I mean, Schubert has blue eyes like Johan. He says, "I was born in a town straight out of a fairy tale. My sister," he said that he left. He said, "Many people died. And I held the hand of my other half and I walked." Like the monster in the storybook, the two of us left the town and went on a journey. And that's when he said, like looking into his eyes, "There were only two like us." Now, that only two like us could mean a lot of things. Like, were there only two of them that were orphans leaving the country? Were there only two of them that were children leaving the country? We don't know what that like us means. He says there are only two like us. Were there only two that were blonde-haired and blue-eyed like them? Maybe. That looked like them? And he says, we didn't have names. And just staring at his, like, just the fact of Schubert, like, just so tense looking at him, like, staring into the face of a monster. Uh-huh. And we don't get to hear the rest of it. I'm like, what did you tell Schubert? Because I'm pretty sure at this point, Schubert's going to die. I'm pretty sure that Schubert is, with that curtain falling on him, I think he's going to die. Now, Tenma may get Nina out of there. That may be, but... And then everybody meets up. Dieter, Reichwein, Nina. I'm sure they're going to get everybody out of there. And then we cut to Karl, who finds the document about Margot Langer. And so we get the file about her, right? The death of Margot Langer. And we get like her police report. Her name was Halinka Novikova. Mm-hmm. She was born in 1955 in Prague. Czechoslovakia. And she, at the age of 15, she immigrated illegally into West Germany. Okay. Which, you know, would have been a little bit before Johan and them arrived. A high-class call girl in Germany, and Schubert was one of them. And so we get that whole, like, reunion thing with them, the recap. And then she retired in 1992. Now, this part here, it says that, what did it say there? Although she was a high-class prostitute, she retired in 1992. And there was some information that soon after she was involved with the head of a black market bank. So we get the idea that Margot, she was involved with this black market bank head around 1992, right? Okay, which was a couple years ago. So that would check out with her being like around the time she met Johan. But they say that it's never been confirmed to be true. It's just speculation. It's just rumor. Somewhat related, the black market bank has been involved with money laundering for the German criminal underworld for the last 5 years since 1991. They were an organization that single-handedly turned illegal funds into legal. So since 1991, there had been a bunch of money laundering. Now, could that have been around the time that Johan started getting involved with all that? Could Johan be involved with all that? We don't know. But in any case, it said she was, after retiring, she lived in Hessen, right? In an apartment. And that apartment looks super damn familiar, right? The apartment looks familiar. I don't know if is that the apartment that Roberto stayed in with Eva when after they like had their meeting. Like what? I feel like I've seen that picture before. I feel like I've seen that apartment before. But I would probably have to go back and read the manga. She lived with a young man who was around 18, but their relationship was unknown. And then she met Johan, who reminded her of her friend and her son. Imagine that. Imagine that. Johan, who was confused for being Schubert's son as the Friday reader and, you know, is now relating to her son here. Oh my God. But the thing that's so frustrating is if Karl knew that the 18-year-old that had met his mom was Johan, then he could question Johan and be like, why didn't you tell me you knew my mom? Because I told you who she was. Why didn't you say anything? And that would be like the domino that would tip the whole thing, is that Johan knew his mom and didn't say anything about it, making him instantly suspicious. But we don't get that. That's what's so frustrating about all, right? And so that's when he goes in there and says, in 1995, she was discovered on Hyde Street. Yep. And she was murdered there. But 3 months before, she sent a letter to a friend, and the contents are written here. And so he goes and reads it, and he says, this is her handwriting. And then she talks about, I quit my job and I'm living a quiet lifestyle. And she says, the things I think about in my peaceful life are the son that I'm separated from and my friend who tried to cross the Czechoslovakian border with me when they were 15. My friend was captured at the border and taken back to Prague. Afterwards, she gave birth to twins and is now living happily. Now living happily, so they say. So, the twins are obviously Nina and Johan, right? So, Nina and Johan's mom was friends with Karl's mom. Now, I mean, you could say it's a small world after all. What are the odds of that happening? But I feel like the odds of that of this coming out are very clear. That I feel like Johan specifically chose her as a target and got connected up with Schubert because this woman knew Johan's mother, right? Knew her, okay? I feel like it's all connected. And I mean, if you think about it, there's lots of millionaires in this world, right? There's lots of wealthy millionaires and CEOs. Johan getting hooked up with Schubert, I think, is just random. That part is coincidence. The fact that Schubert means nothing. It could have been any millionaire from across Europe. But the fact that it is a man who had relations with a woman who was friends with Johan's mom, I feel like that's very deliberate. And who knows, maybe Johan got with Margot to try to figure out, like, what was her relationship with his mother? What was it like? I feel that Johan may have killed her because he was mad that she got out and the mom didn't. Right? Maybe the mom was one of the ones that died and Johan didn't reveal that till right before he killed her. And maybe it was like, my mom didn't make it, but you did, and now you have a son and a family, and you got what we couldn't have. And I don't know, right? But it seems like that maybe could be a possibility because, I mean, why kill her? Why do it? Unless he got all the information that he wanted and then didn't see any use for her anymore. I met a man who's the same age as the son I left behind. His face looks exactly like the face of my Czech friend. Talking to him feels like I'm talking to my son. And so this is such the most messed up, twisted thing about it all is that Karl is right there. And Johan has been the son figure to both Karl's biological mom and biological dad. Like, what the hell? Like, Johan has been playing son with both of Karl's parents, and it's freaking messed up, right? And Johan could be responsible for both of Karl's parents' deaths. So, like, what the hell? So, it's like, was Johan getting revenge on Schubert and Margot based on what happened to his mom? We don't know. Is Schubert his biological dad? We don't know. I mean, I just don't know. I don't think that Schubert is Johan's biological dad because she didn't get with Schubert until after she crossed the border. And we know that the mom of Johan didn't make it out of Prague. So that's not going to be the case. But it's still fascinating, right? He must be happy somewhere. And what's so sad is that Karl's like, oh, don't worry, Mom. Me and Pops are fine. And meanwhile, his dad's like burning in a library. I'm like, I feel for Karl. I do. Because I think Karl is a good guy. He's like, I'm not alone anymore. I'm like, but you're about to be because his dad's about to die. And Johan's about to leave. And Lottie, I mean, he'll have Lottie. So maybe he won't be alone as long as she forgives him for being a douche and setting her up with Constantine. So, yeah, Dad wanted me to read this letter. I finally understood what Mom meant when she said that she didn't hate him. So yeah, that is surprising. I really thought that maybe Schubert would try to reveal that Johan was the bad guy in all this, but he didn't. He just wanted Karl to find out that his mom loved him and that Schubert had been investigating her death. And so he has. He says, I'm already all right. So anyway, we go inside the library, and Dieter's called the fire department, who's going to show up like right at the worst time at the end. And I like that everybody kind of freaks out at him like shooting against the door, but then they realize what he's doing and try to help him. And so they get out of there, and Tim is like, I have 2 shots left. And they're like, hey, wait a minute. And then Nina, girl, I was worried about Nina because I was like, don't cut your feet. Like, she was in heels landing around all that glass. I was like, don't cut your feet, girl, because I've done that. That's not a fun time. But she, like, runs with her heels and goes towards where she sees Tenma and Johan and them at. I'm just amazed that Johan and Schubert are still on that damn stage. They've been waiting there the whole time. The curtains are about to fall on this act, and literally, and they've been on the stage the whole time. And then Johan just walks towards him like he expected like he expected Tenma to be there. And he walks towards Tenma because he doesn't think Tenma's going to do it. And maybe he hopes that Tenma's going to do it. I don't know what Johan's mission is. Johan, when he raised his hands, I thought he was going to do this, but he points his head like don't miss. If you're going to shoot me, shoot here. Now, unfortunately, Nina has Stormtrooper aim, and she does not seem to hit Johan. But she tells Tenma to stop. And he's like, oh, don't, Nina. And that's when I think that's when he realizes that she's going to shoot him. And yeah, she was going to aim at him. And that's when he's like, damn it, I should have shot him so that she wouldn't have to do this. And then Johan just looks back in that classic side view profile where he just turns back like, you're going to shoot me? And then just disappears in the damn smoke. Sons of bitches. And then she fires, but she doesn't have good aim. Tenma can't shoot. And he's like, are you going to shoot him? And she's like, yeah, that's what I'm aiming my gun at. That's what I came here to do. And that's when the curtain falls and he goes to save Nina. So Tenma couldn't shoot Johan. Again, I think it's because as much as Tenma wanted to shoot Johan, he wasn't armed, and it's almost like Johan taunting Tenma to shoot him is like, but wait, why? I still think there's a part of Nina and there's a part of Tenma that wants to know why is Johan the way that he is. It's so fascinating because it's kind of like Lunge. Like Tenma, there's a part of Tenma that, like Lunge, wants to know the psyche of the other person. Like Lunge wants to know why Tenma is a murderer, and Tenma wants to know why Johan's doing the things that he's doing. So even though he says he's got to kill Johan, he still wants to know at the end of the day, like, why did you do this? Like, what is wrong with you? What's up with you? What's happening? And he just can't do it. And then Nina shows up and she's kind of in the same boat. She's like, she knows that she should probably shoot him, but she has the same trouble that Tenma does. So, I mean, and Lunge hasn't shown up on the scene yet, damn it. So, my only hope is that I don't think Schubert's going to make it. I think Schubert's going to die. I don't think they're getting him out of there because he's in that wheelchair. I think Tenma's going to get Nina out, maybe, and escape with her, with Reichwein and Dieter, maybe. Or the two of them will get out and Reichwein and Dieter will have to meet up with them later. And I think that Lunge is going to show up on the scene, find the sniper rifle, find all the evidence that Tenma was there, and be like, oh, it was all Tenma's fault. And it's going to be like, and then as far as Johan, it's like, we got this close to something happening. I wanted Tenma and Johan to talk. I want Johan to talk to Tenma. I wanted it so badly. But we don't get it. Instead, Johan is a damn tease. He's a damn tease, giving us a case of blue balls over here. I'm so mad they ended the episode right there. I'm so mad! So yeah, we have info now. The thing that frustrates me the most is Karl has this information and does not know that it pertains to Johan and Nina. So he has this information that we, the audience, now know. But is he going to be able to communicate that to Nina in any way, shape, or form? Probably not. So that information is probably going to go nowhere. And I'm just like, I feel like we have all these threads that if we, the audience, we could tie it all up into a bow. But because they're all at different points with people that are not intersecting, we can't connect it together. And it's just for us to know as the audience, and it's going to frustrate the hell out of me. But I don't know what to think about Tenma now. I'm like, is Tenma going to tell Dieter that he killed Roberto? Is he going to tell Reichwein that he killed someone? Is that going to alter the way that Dieter thinks about him? It's like he's killed one person now, so is he going to stop? I don't know. I feel like we've crossed a threshold. We've turned a corner. The fact that Tenma has killed someone is like we've made a conscious like move. And that is like a defining moment in Tenma's character that this has happened. And then the fact that he couldn't shoot Johan and Johan got away, I think is going to drive Tenma crazy because he missed that opportunity. And it also made Nina have to be the one to pull the trigger, which Tim is like, I don't want you to be a killer. Let me do it. And that's going to start like a whole thing. But you know that I'm not going to be able to wait till I'm not going to be able to wait for episode 39. Y'all know this. Oh my God. Yeah, I'm going to have to watch the next episode. It's just going to have to happen. But I wish this episode hadn't been so much recap, because there's really not much more to talk about, but I need to sit and stew on it, and I don't know if I'll be able to wait for comments for episode 39. Maybe, maybe not, but I can't believe we've made it here. Like, we've turned a corner for Tenma's character, but it's not the way that I anticipated it, and I can't believe Roberto's gone. How about that? So, I'm curious to know your thoughts down below. Please, no spoilers, but I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and yeah, I'll be back very soon with more of Monster. Bye.